All right, guys, our next guest had a very good weekend at Bellator Dynamite, beating both Emanuel Newton and Francis Carmont to become the next man to face Liam McGeary. Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis, welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you?
I'm good. You can say I had a dynamite weekend.
Dynamite weekend.
See what I did there? Huh?
The man's got jokes. The puns are coming out early. The interview's just getting started. Well, it's been a few days now since the whole Bellator experience, the Dynamite experience, if you will. Tell us, now that everything's settled down, have you had a chance to sort of reflect on your dominant performance, and also where have you been wearing that Bellator tournament belt? We imagine the grocery store, to the gym, or in the club.
You know what? I didn't get a chance to do anything yet. I just did a little wine tasting, and then I came home. So I really haven't had the chance to wear it around much. But you can bet that really soon there's going to be a bunch of photos coming your way. Just me wearing the belt in random places.
Awesome, the adventures of the belt. Now, just quickly about the belt, you looked a bit surprised when Scott Coker put it around your waist. Did you know there was going to be a belt? And what went through your mind when you saw you were going to have a belt?
I had no idea that there was going to be a belt involved. I was like, oh, whoa, wait, what am I the champion of? Let's talk about this for a second. It was all very confusing to me.
But in a good way, right? Did it make it even more special having the belt?
Right. Well, see, I don't really like surprises in general.
No.
So even like a good surprise is like, I'm still too surprised. What's going on, you know?
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? It's weird because I just get done fighting, then somebody sneaks up behind me. My instincts are still on red alert, you know what I mean? I'm still high. I don't know. I might have, karate chopped somebody, you know?
Oh, for sure. Scott Coker's lucky to still have his life after creeping up behind you like that. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. I spent too much time in the pen for people to be sneaking up behind me like that.
Christmas would have been a hard time for you, Phil Davis. You go down in the morning, next thing you know, family members are hurt. I told you, I don't like surprises.
Now, Phil, take us through this. When you were growing up, were you a big fan of Pride? Because watching Dynamite, for many fans, it was like jumping into a time machine and being able to enjoy some of the old school production values from Pride that we haven't seen in a long time. So were you a big fan of Pride growing up?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As many of them as I could watch, I did. It was really nostalgic being up on the stage. I was like, oh man, this is how they used to do it. They did. They used to come out and salute the fans first. You have to know who's on the main card.
Yeah.
And they go to the back. It was like, it's crazy. It was cool. I was like watching it and in it at the same time. It was definitely a treat.
Lenne Hardt, I mean, she's got a very iconic voice. When people hear her voice, it's very nostalgic from the get-go. What was it like? I know, like, obviously you did really, really great things that night, but was it sort of like a minor highlight hearing your name being announced by Lenne Hardt? Because you never know how she's going to pronounce it.
Exactly. Yeah, some people, I was just going through the timeline, some people are like, that lady's crazy. Like, that lady's awesome. It's but again, it's having that, it's having watched Pride and wanted to be that person in the cage or in the ring, getting announced, that makes it so cool and special for me. And imagining all these years what that would have sounded like,
Did it sound the way that you imagined it?
Yeah, about like that.
It sounds like it didn't live up to your expectations from that. Just kidding. Let's get off Lenne because she might listen to this and get upset. Let's get into the actual night. Now, your first fight that night, you defeated longtime former champion Emanuel Newton by first round Kimura. Considering that the current champion Liam McGeary wasn't able to get it done within 5 rounds, what kind of message do you think it sent to the rest of the division?
Well, my whole point in being in Dynamite was to come straight in, fight the best, two of the best guys in the division. Carmont was a treat because I wasn't even planning on fighting him, and also definitely a good striker and a good grappler. So that's kind of icing on the cake that I got to face him. But yeah, I just want to come in and let everybody know where I am in the division, and I was able to do that.
Well, you proved your point, not once but twice. I just want to go back a second. When speaking with MMA Fighting's Luke Thomas, Emanuel Newton mentioned that in his previous fights, he had never trained for more than 2 weeks and that he spent a fair amount of time partying and smoking weed. Just curious, did you know about that going into the fight, and what are your thoughts on that? Because I think a lot of people found that pretty crazy, especially considering his past success.
Man, Newton's like he's a special case, man. He's a very awkward fighter, and he's very skilled. So having not really trained properly for his fights, that changes what I think of him. He still has so much more he can grow, and he can gain and become a better fighter. And he's already tough,
Now, you mentioned how it was a treat fighting Francis Carmont. You were obviously originally meant to fight King Mo in the finals of the tournament. What was your initial reaction when you found out you had the last-minute opponent change? And were you already mentally preparing and game planning for King Mo when you got the news?
Oh, yeah, of course. We didn't waste any time game planning. We watched his fight, and then after his – there was no talk of him until after I won my fight. After I won my fight, it's like, okay, stay loose, don't get too cold, and, just run through some plays kind of thing. Just a walkthrough. We did a lot of walkthrough. Just not even super slow motion, just here's what you're looking for in this position, here's what we're looking for,
Exactly how much time did you have to prepare for Carmont, though? Like, so from the moment you got the news, Mo's out, Carmont's in, to the time you made the entrance, how much time was there in between?
Maybe 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. How did you feel having only 10 minutes to prepare for an opponent? Because most fights these days in MMA, you get, a few months, if not, at least a few weeks. Now you've got 10 minutes. How did that make you feel?
People will find any excuse to lose. I leave myself no excuse, and no matter who steps in that cage, I put the work in on the front side. I put it in on doing my camp, getting ready, being the best Phil Davis I can be. And as long as I'm the quality product stepping in the cage, you can whoever else is going to get in there is, they're going to have to adapt to what I do. That's the way I look at it. And I mean, in most times, that's the way it ends up playing out. Very seldom do I have to majorly tweak my game to accommodate someone.
Yeah, well, I mean, your game was spectacular on the night. You scored a stunning first-round knockout over Francis in the second fight of the night. Now, you're not a guy that's known for your knockout power, and your last stoppage win due to strikes was in 2009. We're just wondering, what do you attribute to getting the KO? Is this something that you've been working on specifically in your camp leading into the tournament, your striking and the power behind it?
Honestly, it's just when you fight, it's just 3 rounds. If you could see, if I had like a clock counting all the rounds I've done in training, 3 fives is just a slither of the time I put in. And in training and in sparring, I'm in there with some great guys, day in and day out. And honestly, it was just a matter of time until it happened. It's not like it's just maturing. Just maturing. Was it the game plan to knock it out? Not necessarily. The game plan's always to use hands and kicks, set up takedowns, grapple, ground and pound, submission. I mean, it's always part of the package, but it's just one of those things. I love having the 8 or 9 months that I got off preparing for this fight, because it just gave me a chance to just be in the room training with no real date, and I was able to see a good amount of change in my body and in just my game, my all around game. So it's I'm happy with that.
We're happy that you're happy, Phil. You and King Mo, you're both big names, and you guys would have made for a good fight. But the way it turned out, you guys will probably fight in the near future. You're both big names at the top of the division, and now you have another big marquee matchup to look forward to in the division. Do you think that it was almost a blessing in disguise that you and Mo didn't fight on that night?
Sure. I mean, there is, without a doubt, we're definitely going to fight in sometime in the future. It's just bound to happen. So I really, it all just depends on whether I fight McGeary next, or what order of things go down next. So.
Well, it definitely leaves a very exciting matchup in Bellator. Now that it's all over and done with, Phil, I mean, this is your first experience fighting twice in one night. What did you think about it? And take us through, what was the hardest thing about fighting twice in one night? And what was the thing that you enjoyed the most?
Whoa. All right, let's start at the top of that question. What was the first part of that?
So now that obviously this is your first experience fighting a couple of times in one night, what was the most difficult thing for you? Was it going to the back, having to stay warm, the million things that you had to deal with? What was the hardest thing for you? And then what was the thing that you enjoyed the most about fighting twice in one night?
Yeah, I anticipated this being the toughest part of fighting twice in one night. And it really was. It was, just refocusing after your first win to not to get too happy or too caught up in my last win. That last win means nothing. Now it's time to concentrate on the fight in front of me. And it was like, man, Emanuel Newton's a super tough guy. Be able to finish him in the first period is like, oh, that's worth celebrating over. It's like, all right, not tonight you don't. Tonight you don't worry about that. That's water under the bridge. Now we gotta go through King Mo next, So that was really the toughest thing. It sounds silly, like, oh, you should be able to do that, but it's normally you get a first round finish. That's the end of the night. That is the end of the night. It's shower, change, get ready for the press conference. And in turn it was like it's like change your gloves, and then give me some more gloves, and it was like, just get taped up again. And get back into that, pre-fight, very, very intense focus kind of stage and feeling.
The whole thing, I mean, it sounds like a tough experience. I want to sort of cut over to the main event, segue a bit more to your opponent, Liam McGeary, your future opponent. But just before we do, Tito Ortiz, he did pretty well against Liam until he got caught by the submission. What did you think of Liam's performance that night against Tito?
I thought he did good. He has some tough grappling. I thought he did good grappling, but I also thought he gave up a takedown a little bit too easily. So I think in a fight with me, that'll be something that maybe holds him back, or will allow me to gain some advantage.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because last week we had Frank Trigg on the show. He was breaking down the Dynamite card with us, and he'd mentioned the same thing, that Tito is a good wrestler, but he was able to take Liam down pretty handily. Now, you're one of the top wrestlers in the light heavyweight division. I mean, you just mentioned the wrestling will be a factor for Liam, but how much of a factor do you think it will really be if you guys do end up matching up? How much of an advantage do you think you'll have because you're such a great wrestler in MMA?
I think that's a great matchup for me. He's a good striker. He's a good grappler. And he still has a lot of work to do in the wrestling. So, I mean, it's one of those guys that you cannot say, oh, it should be a piece of cake. Absolutely not. You see that triangle he slapped on the old boy's head? That was slick. It was slick, and it was mean too. I was like, oh, that's highlight reel right there. So, it's a great matchup. I honestly do think so.
Were you surprised when you saw that inverted triangle? Did it catch you off guard? Were you there watching like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming? Or were you like, this is what I expect from Liam?
Nah, it was not at all the move that I would have gone to or what I was expecting. Definitely, it was slick. He had me like, yeah, well, how did you get that? How did you do that?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it was definitely slick.
He's known for those slick submissions. He's also got a lot of reach, and he's got a bunch of knockouts. What do you think is the most dangerous aspect of his game, of his arsenal?
I need to see more of his stand-up, but probably his ground game.
Well, your last fight before Bellator Dynamite was back in January, Phil. You mentioned that before. If Bellator came back to you and said that they'd like you and Liam to fight in 2016, what would your take be on that? Would you be fine with doing it in the new year, or do you want to get back in there and again in 2015?
Well, honestly, when you're not the champion and you're facing the champion, I'm not going to pretend like this comes down to me. So, it comes down to the champion. Luckily, he's not too beat up from his fight, so I can only hope that it's sooner than later. So, but yeah, I mean, I would love to fight before the end of the year. That'd be rad.
Well, speaking of things that are happening right at the end of the year, I mean, the big announcement during the event was Fedor signing with a new Japanese promotion, which is backed by Sakakibara, who is the man behind Pride. I just want to get your thoughts, Phil. What do you think about Fedor signing with them? And did any part of you, like a lot of fans wanted to see Fedor go to the UFC, did any part of you want to see how Fedor would do in the UFC?
See, that's a business thing, like. Fedor is he's able to make some good business decisions throughout his career, and the reason why he didn't go, or the reason why he is where he is entirely business. Here's a guy who doesn't feel the need to quote unquote prove himself against whomever someone else says you need to prove yourself against this guy. Now he's comfortable in himself to say, I'll fight whoever gets in this cage, and he will go throughout his career that way, which is there's something to be said about having that chip on your shoulder and wanting to fight the best guys. But at the same time, business wise, he's never, well, I don't know about never, but not recently. He hasn't recently taken that pay cut to quote unquote fight the best guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, from a business standpoint, it makes sense. We obviously wanted to see him in the UFC to see how he does against those heavyweights. But this card that he'll be fighting on, it's going to be in New Year's Eve in Tokyo. There's a lot of talk about who could potentially fight Fedor. I mean, obviously, you're going to be facing McGeary next. If Scott was to offer you that fight against Fedor at some point, would you take it?
Man, I'd have to. I'd have to. You know what it's like, how could I not? I don't know. Like, he's a legend, in the sport. It's one thing. It's one thing if you lose to Joe Schmo, but if you lose to Michael Jordan, people are like, you know what, you did good against Mike. There's competing, and that's like a fight that anybody gets up for. You get super excited for. Is he the best Fedor we've ever seen? Who knows? I would lean against no, but at the same time, I won't count that man out of nothing. I'm going to come at that man like he has a weapon in his pocket. Okay, like he's good, he's that good.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, the guy is just such a gentleman. You never know what cards he has hidden underneath his sleeve. Now, while talking about that fight in Japan, Phil, just wondering if because Bellator is working with this new Japanese promotion, if they offered you a fight with Liam on that New Year's Eve card in Tokyo, would you be open to that option as well?
Dude, I'm open to everything. You say, Phil, can I? And the answer is yes before you finish it. I'm down. I'm down. You don't got to convince me to do nothing. You want to do Dynamite 2? You want to do Dynamite 2 New Year's Eve? Is that what you want to do? Okay, because I'm down with that too.
Good.
Whatever you want, I'm down with that too.
All right, good. Well, we're glad we've pretty much got your permission that you're down for the next thing. It's how we finish all the interviews, the Submission Radio tap-out round. We fire off a bunch of fun questions. Actually, we've just got a few here today, and you answer with the first thing that comes to mind. So I won't ask you if you're ready, because obviously you are. Now, Phil, the first question, we saw you had a romantic stopover in Napa Valley. You touched on that earlier. Did you wear your title while enjoying the fine cheese platters and wine?
Yeah. I did have a good time enjoying the fine cheese and wine. It's not every day I get to do that.
But did you wear the belt?
Oh, I didn't. I should have.
You should have.
I left it in the hotel. You
should have worn the belt, and then you should have cheekily pointed to the belt, like really unprovokingly, like more wine, and then you're like, sure, and then you point to your belt. I was worried. I didn't want to like my buddy who
won the Stanley Cup. It's cool. Like, they all drink beers out of the cup, and I'm like, I don't know. What am I supposed to do with the belt? Can I drink out of the belt? I don't know.
You can do shots out of the belt. The
Are
indentations.
there rules?
You can eat cheese off the belt in Napa Valley.
Yes.
You can use that as like a platter. Now, Phil, we're looking at your Twitter profile, and it says that you're a book reader. We want to know, what's Phil Davis been reading lately?
Ooh-wee.
Don't let us down.
Slowed down for a little while, yeah. I don't have a new one that I'm reading right now. Yeah. But I need to actually, I found a nice little hat for a book called, what is that called? The E-Myth.
The E-Myth.
The E-Myth. It's about being an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And some of the myths about entrepreneurs. So I found a hat for that online so I can listen to it for free. So
nice. That's what it's all
First
about.
step of making money, find a free way to listen to the
book. We need to read your stuff. We just basically read letters to Penthouse, and that's about it. So we'll get on the E-Myth. You've got to tell us about this photo that you put up of you, Chris Lieben, and Rampage Jackson on a private jet. What was going on in that picture?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. But I know roughly the whole time. Chris Lieben is just, he's just one of those dudes. He's just out of his mind saying silly stuff. And Rampage, the two of them together, they're just like magnetic. They just, Rampage's crazy too. So they just there's just a crazy conversation they have, and I was just sitting back and laughing the whole time.
Yeah, Rampage looked like he was tickled pink. He looked a little bit angry at old Chris in that picture. So hopefully Chris didn't pee on any pillows or anything like that. Now, I got to ask you this question, Phil. It's something the fans have been talking about lately. Do you think Randy Couture versus Fedor may happen, or there might be a chance it might happen in this New Year's Eve card? And if these two guys do go up against each other, who would you pick to win that matchup?
Oh, man.
It's a tough one. It's a tap-out round.
I would give it to Fedor.
Ooh.
I'd give it to Fedor. Well, it's in a ring, correct? It would be in a ring or a cage?
I don't think they've made that clear, but considering it is going to be Pride 2.0, I would think ring.
In this particular fight is like paramount. That decides everything for me.
That's very smart.
I think that decides everything.
That's a good point. I like the way you're looking at it. Finally, last question, Phil, and then we're going to let you go. Looks like you've got a bit of a break on your hands. You may fight in 2015 or maybe early 2016. What's the plan for the rest of the 2015 for Phil Davis? How are you going to stay busy?
Oh, I'm going to stay busy in the gym, working hard. We got a good gym, and there's always somebody fighting. So just help my teammates out. I'll be doing some traveling, doing some cornering, and something about being on the other side of the cage, it really sharpens your skills if you allow it to,
Well, there you guys go. Phil Davis, he's going to be traveling the world, helping people out, and also listening to audiobooks about how to improve that wealth online. Phil, it's a pleasure having you on Submission Radio. We can't wait to see what happens next. Guys, you can follow Phil on Twitter at Phil Mr. Wonderful. Phil Davis, thanks again.
Thanks a lot, guys.